Hey, what's going on, you guys? This is Nightwing. That's right, it's me, the guy with the hood and the glowing eyes. It's me. This is what I'm supposed to look like. I know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that quick intro. I am going to be mixing up my intros a little more for my channel to make things more interesting, but I digress. So, the more important thing, I am proud to present my new series for Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Blackout. Now, if you guys want me to make more videos and go really in depth on this series, all you gotta do is just like the video. I will be even doing tips and tricks on items such as how to properly use sensor darts and trophy systems and all that good stuff. All you gotta do is just like the video. So without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so the first thing I see people doing incorrectly in Blackout, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make, even I myself make this mistake sometimes, it's not checking your surroundings. Now, every time I see a player, I constantly see them not checking their surroundings, and what I mean by this is they're not checking their left, they're not checking their right, they're not checking behind them, because an enemy could sneak up at any moment, and if you check your surroundings correctly, what happens is you might end up saving yourself the trouble, and you could get yourself some kills. And the problem is, I see a lot of players not checking their surroundings carefully, and what happens is they end up paying the price, they end up getting killed for it, and they'll get caught off guard so quickly for not checking their surroundings correctly, and they'll end up by paying the price by getting killed either right off the start or right off in the middle of the game where they're not paying attention, or the biggest problem of them all is when you're in the final circle and you just get knocked out and killed out of nowhere. Because that could really suck, and that was probably one of the biggest problems I see people doing in Blackout a lot. And I really don't like it when people aren't paying attention, because it just makes me think, oh, is this gonna be a free kill, or is this just gonna be a guy who's not paying attention? So that's pretty much what it comes down to. So always check your surroundings when you're trying to get to the circle. So be sure to check left, be sure to check right, even check behind you if you're trying to run to the circle and the storm's coming. Always check your surroundings to make sure no one is flanking. Okay, so the next thing I see players doing incorrectly, it's not properly dropping at areas. Now, some of you may be wondering, what do I mean by this exactly? What I mean by this is by two reasons. One, you could miss time to jump at the helicopter and people will already be here at the area you're trying to get to. Or two, you could end up arriving at the area late by either stalling while you're jumping, or you try to get to the area you want to, but you didn't get there quick enough. Now, good chances are, if you arrive at the area late, or if you mistime your jump, chances are the enemy will still be there finishing up the looting, and when you get there, good chances are you're gonna end up getting killed for this. Now, I will come out and say I have made top 90 for this, just because I arrived not only late, but I also didn't check my surroundings. This also affects step 1, not checking your surroundings. So, I'm going to show a picture of the map on screen in just a moment, so for those of you aggressive players who like to go in and get the kills, that's fine. This tip is going to be for those players who want to have a nice safe start away from all the activity. So, I'm going to show a picture of the map on screen right about now. Okay, so here's a picture of the Blackout map, you guys. Now here are the 3 locations that I know are safe for the start of the game. Now, the first location I want to talk about is the 3 houses by estates. This is my personal favorite go-to landing spot in the entire game, simply because there's 3 houses, you have a lot of cover, there's some breathing room, and there's a lot of good loot here, so you can get yourself not only armed, but if people are landing with you, good chances are you're going to grab a gun and you can easily take them out right off the starting gate. So this will give you more time to loot and less time to worry about your enemies. Now, Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's even two, maybe even three enemies, but half the time you'll have the area to yourself. Now the second landing spot I want to talk about is behind Hydro Dam. Now the homestead behind Hydro Dam, I only see like one or maybe two enemies land here, but half of the time you won't see any enemies landing behind Hydro Dam. So it's a very good spot to start off the game in. But if you're trying to go up against a corner circle that's at Lighthouse, then you're in big trouble. But looting wise, this place is very good for looting because you have a bunch of houses. And lastly, the third spot that I know is safe, but it's a little bit of a risk versus reward, is the homestead behind Lighthouse. Now, when you land at the homestead behind Lighthouse, you have pretty much a minute to yourself to loot here before the enemies start moving. Simply because once you landed, start gathering all of the loot, enemies are going to be coming all the way from Lighthouse and Factory all the way to the homestead. So you have exactly 1 minute to arm yourself and get ready for a big fight. So these are the three locations that I personally know that are safe for the start of a game. Alright, so the next thing I see players doing incorrectly, and I'm gonna probably sound like a jerk for saying this, and I apologize in advance if I do, but this one just drives me bananas the most. And what that is, it's constantly spamming all your throwables. Now, if you're a player who constantly spams cluster grenades, frag grenades, sensor darts, and concussion grenades, I just want to say shame on you. Shame on you for wasting all your throwables. You do not want to waste all your throwables on one person. You want to save some of those throwables for later on in the game. I understand you want to kill that one person that's driving you crazy. I understand, but you don't want to waste all your throwables. I understand some people get frustrated. I understand you want to ensure that guarantee kill. I just don't understand why players spam their throwables on one opponent. Because chances are, if you kill someone by spamming all your throwables on one person, good chances are you'll end up third-partied by another random player. And hey, you want to throw cluster grenades at them? You can't do that. You wasted all your throwables on one person. So don't waste all your throwables on one person. You want to save some of them for the final circle, because if you conserve enough just for the final circle, you're going to end up having a good combat advantage. So don't waste all your throwables on one person in early game. Save some of them for the final circle as best as you can. Okay, so the next thing I see a lot of people doing incorrectly is not properly getting into cover. Now, before you guys get mad and start saying things right now, I want you to hear me out. What I mean by this is there's a lot of cover that you could get into this game. There's a lot of rocks, there's a lot of buildings, and a lot of bushes that could provide cover, but they're not the best cover in the world. So, before I get too into this, I just want to say, hey, if you're in a combat situation, always go to the closest point of cover, such as a pile of rocks, or if there's a wall, use that as cover. What I see a lot of people doing incorrectly is not using the closest point of cover. They'll try to go for the safest point of cover, and what happens is they'll end up paying the price, and they're gonna get themselves killed for it. And what happens is they'll end up trying to run to a small rock, they'll get cluster grenade, but that's not a safe point of cover. They're not using it properly because they're getting barraged by a ton of bullets, grenades, what you want to call it, and especially if they're hiding behind a bush. A bush is not cover, okay? I'm just going to say that right now. A bush is not cover. It is only a visual cover. Bushes only provide blindness for people trying to shoot. It doesn't provide bullet protection. It just ends up getting yourself killed. So always use the closest point of cover. If you're going towards a bush, don't go towards a bush, okay? It doesn't provide any cover. Enemies will shoot right through it, and you could cost yourself the game that way. So don't go to bushes. You want to go for actual points of cover, such as rocks, walls, buildings, barricades. You name it, I will tell you if it's safe or not safe. But Personally, I recommend go to the closest point of cover. If there's a rock next to you and if there's a building far off you could run to, go to the rock instead, because it will end up saving your life. So always go to the closest point of cover. And lastly, for today's tip for things you're probably doing wrong, is probably a big one, and it's having the wrong loadout. Now, when players first drop into a match, I understand they go for the first gun they see and they try to kill the person, but this is gonna be for later on in the game. But when you pick up a gun and you have the wrong gun by accident and you die in combat for it, chances are you're gonna end up paying the price for it. Such as if you don't get a gun properly right off the start, or if you don't end up having the correct loadout later on in game. This is going to be the biggest problem. You want to be sure to have a proper loadout in your entire Blackout game. So if you're engaging someone at long range and you only have 2 SMGs on you, you can't do that. You only can engage them at close range because you have no long range weapons. And this would really stink, and I really don't want to see players do this to themselves. So you always want to have the proper loadout. For example, if you have 2 SMGs and someone's attacking you at long range, that's not okay. If you have 2 assault rifles and you're trying to attack someone at close range, it's not the best loadout in the world, and you're probably going to end up dying for it unless you get really lucky by hip firing. But good chances are you're probably going to end up dying at close range if you have 2 assault rifles. What you want to do is have a organized loadout, such as 1 assault rifle and 1 SMG. That's a good loadout. If you have a shotgun and you have a sniper for a loadout, it's not the best loadout in the world. It's probably a really bad loadout, but it will get the job done. If you have a shotgun and an SMG, that's not a really good loadout, but you do have some guns that will put pressure on the opponent. If you have an assault rifle and a sniper, again, not a bad loadout, but it will still get the job done. And lastly, if you want to run a shotgun with a rocket launcher, don't do that, okay? This one was just for giggles. Never run a rocket launcher with a shotgun or run a rocket launcher with an sniper rifle. And especially never run a rocket launcher with a pistol loadout. Only time you should ever, and I mean ever, do something like this is if you're playing duos or squads with some friends. That is the only time you should run a stupid loadout like that. I personally do it in solos just for the giggles, just because I want to challenge myself and make myself laugh. So always double check your loadout. Make sure your team has a good loadout, make sure you have a good loadout, and if you have a proper loadout, good chances are you may even win the game just by having the proper guns at the start of the game or when you find some more later on in the game. So, like I said, always have a proper loadout. Even double check your loadout mid-game to make sure you have a proper loadout. Hey you guys, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope I helped you out in some ways, and like I said, I will be glad to do more videos for this series on things you're probably doing wrong in Blackout, and I will go even more in depth with this by making quick tips and tricks videos on certain items such as center darts, trophy system, cluster grenades, even tomahawks. If you guys really want me to do this and go and continue the series, all you have to do is leave a like in the video, and that's it. I will continue the series. I'll do pretty much that. Just leave a like. I'll continue the series, and I'll be glad to continue it. And I will definitely get those tips and tricks videos up for you guys as soon as I can. So if you guys want, all you gotta do is just like the video, but I am just rambling at this point, so I apologize. So I'm just gonna let you guys go here. So thank you all for watching. I hope some of these tips and tricks helped you in some way. Personally, these tips help me make me a better player in Blackout overall. So like I said before, these aren't the best tips in the world. These are just general tips that help me in general in Blackout, and they help me become a better player. So I hope some of these tips helped you as well. So let me know if you want me to continue the series by liking the video. And without further ado, you guys, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.